You ready? You recording? Oh, it's sponsored by Pindigo. You use Pindigo. Are you rolling? Yes, okay. When you use Pindigo, you're Indigo. We're good. This season is actually one of our lowest seasons for a while. Where's the skill, buddy? Which is incredible. Every single game has its own rule set. So you got to kind of know, like, if I get this shot and do this, I'm going to get some less play for it. Okay. You have to understand how each game is set up. Each individual game has, like, what do I do to get the ball? And then once I get it the ball, what do I have to shoot the jackpot? Like, what do I do to get the double jackpot? Somebody and just keep the ball on it. They weren't dead. We're going to get it. I got it. Yeah. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's just to get out. How do I get to go? Now it's like, this game has two different things now. Every one of those is a mode. So, and each one of those modes has its own rules. Alright, I felt good about that. I chopped a lot of the way. I set myself up. I got 2 balls in still. Alright, grab a key, man. It happens. Hopefully it's not mature enough. Yeah. Well, it would be okay because as long as he lets one of them drain, it'd be fine. It might screw up the skill shot.
So I'm going to edit out the footage here where we're pointing and going and getting the key. And here I am stepping up for my first ball, and I really don't remember how this goes, but I can tell you that this is one of the worst nights of pinball I've had in a long time. And it couldn't have come on a worse night right during the finals, but sometimes you just get those. And sure, I got frustrated, but I knew I had to post this video just to showcase the skills of the other guys. You know, it would be pretty selfish of me just because I had a bad night to keep them from getting all the glory and showing how well they really did play. So we'll see if I'm able to put together anything solid here on the first ball. You can see I'm going for the orb shot. Nice head bounce there. Good decision to take a controlled shot for the lock. I like to go for this multi-ball because after the code update, it's worth significantly more than it was previous. So in the first few versions of the rules, it was more beneficial to go for group multi-ball, but since the code has changed up quite a bit, I actually like going for orb multi-ball. It's worth a good bit more. And you can tell just a little bit excited there and the tilt just on edge. And it just goes to show that you can't have a bad night against these guys. These guys are the best in the state. And if you have a bad night, you're going to have a bad time. So some guys will do everything that they can. Some guys will jump around and try to get hyped up for a ball. A lot of players recently, in the last couple of years, have started listening to music on headphones. Tim does that. Chris also does that. I would say it's probably maybe upwards of 25 to 30% of the players, especially in our league, but especially in big tournaments where you really want to concentrate. And this is something that I have been experimenting with over the off season, and I used to say, well, what's the point? Why does that matter? I really, really like listening to music now. You have to, it not only does it get you pumped up, but if you're in the right zone, you can totally block out everything else. It doesn't even have to be songs that you know. It's just essentially white noise to help you concentrate on what's going on with the ball, and you can eliminate all of the distractions that are happening around you. And I've found that not only am I more consistent while listening to music, but that I am able to score probably 20 to 30% better on a given game at any given time. So if you turn on some music, that may be something to help you concentrate during your play if you haven't tried that yet. Now, the one caveat for this is that you kind of have to already know the rules, as we see Tim have a unfortunate drain right down the middle, as we see going for that same orb that kind of tends to rattle out and do that. But if you listen to music, it needs to be on games that you know well, that you know the rules, because oftentimes there will be a call out that you'll miss if you're not really familiar with the rule set. But just a tip to those out there who maybe haven't tried it and didn't really understand the point, maybe not on league night. I don't know if I'll do that every time, but if there's an important situation like a finals or a tournament, I'll probably throw on some headphones and block everything out, because league is supposed to be a social event. It's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to be hanging out with your friends. Not that the pinball is secondary, but I would say it's 50-50. So something to keep in mind. Looks like Chris is going to go for a group multi-ball here. He's got his first lock completed. And something I learned recently about this game is the multipliers on, I would say, 90% of Stern games. The upper lanes that feed the pop bumpers, when you complete those lanes, it'll usually give you a bonus X or some sort of random award. On this game, you have to complete the rollover lanes into the pop bumpers, complete both of those, and then you complete the 3 rollovers on the in lanes, which the in lanes are to the left and the right of the slingshots, and of course the outlines are where you drain, so down towards the flippers on the lower third part of the playfield. If you complete all of those, it will light a shot multiplier, and when you multiply that shot, it will stay multiplied through the rest of the ball. So Chris is going to start his group multi-ball here, and we'll see if he's able to rack up a good score. It's difficult to read the scores, but I can tell you right away that Josh is currently in the lead, and that Tim and I did not have very good first balls. So he just lit his multiplier. Let's see if he Not sure if that's available during multi-ball or not. I don't believe that it is. Or maybe, perhaps the award's a little bit different when you're in multi-ball play. But that's one thing I love about Chris's game. Look how controlled he's being. That pose right there, it's called the Elwyn pose, of course named after the famous Keith Elwyn, who is sort of his thing, was being able to control 2 balls on one flipper, 1 ball on the other. And oftentimes he does that little flick pass when he has 3 balls on 1 flipper like you just saw Chris pull off. So nice looking shot there. So he locked a ball into group. Fortunately lost the other one, but when you do that, I believe it doubles your scoring for 20 seconds, and it allows you to play in single ball play. So it looks like he's about 30 million, which puts him in the lead. Josh, I believe, is sitting around 19. Okay, so he did get that ball back. So he's going to continue to play and go for his orb multi-ball. So that was probably lock 2 there. I believe he wants to put in a, so one more shot. You really want to try to bring in a mode with your multi-balls in this game. Stacking is important, and similar in the way to Spider-Man, you really don't want to stack your multi-balls together because it doesn't provide that much of a score increase for your jackpots. You want to try to keep them separate. That will allow you to have more opportunities to play multi-ball. But that ball put Chris in the lead, and here we are going on to the 3rd ball. Correction, this is actually Josh's 2nd ball as we see him slap save right into Groot's mouth. That's a neat little trick. I'll have to learn that one sometime. It'd be interesting to see what his strategy is here, considering that he has already spent 2 multi-balls on ball 1. And it looks like he was going for the scoop there. I'm not really sure. He's already in a mode, and there's a nice little flick shot into the orb lock, which would be my recommendation, because on the 2nd time around, it's the same amount of shots. It's still 6 shots to the orb as it is the 1st time around. However, the Groot shot requires you to make, so he started his orb multi-ball, which is a hurry up. When you start your hurry up, that will determine the jackpot value for the rest of the shots in your multi-ball. So you really want to try to get that as quickly as you can. Looks like he was able to do that with some relative speed. So this would be a good opportunity for him to pass Chris and then separate himself from the rest of the field. And you think, okay, well, what would be a good score on Guardians? Well, that's a good question, because ordinarily you would say somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 100 million. But in the semifinals, I saw Chris put up somewhere in the neighborhood of 450 million points on this game. So with these guys, like I was saying earlier, you really can't take a nap, because it'll come back to bite you, and that'll be the end, and you'll be out, and you'll be sitting on the sidelines, and that'll be it. So he's still in multi-ball here. Nice decision to trap up there, take a breather, assess the playfield, and see what he needs. It's something that I find I do frequently, or I guess you could say not frequently enough, is take a pause and really read the playfield. Sometimes I'll take a breath and I'll say, okay, well, I need to relax for a second so that I can be ready to get the rebound on this next shot. But I often don't take a step and say, okay, well, what is the game telling me? I need to read the DMD display, or in this case, the LCD display. What is the game wanting you to do? What are the opportunities for you to score the most points? So even though you might have a shot in mind, it may not necessarily always be the best shot on the playfield in terms of your long-term goals, because if you're sure, you know, you can get to group multi-ball, but if you're not thinking about stacking it with a mode, well, then you just missed out on a huge opportunity to score points. So here's Josh again, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 60 million, it appears. So pretty good job so far in his first 2 balls. So he just locked his 3rd Groot towards his 4 now that he needs for multi-ball, which would be the preferred strategy. And he gets his ball save. There's a virtual kickback, which I'm not a huge fan of. I think it's more exciting to actually see the ball get kicked back into play, but it's a common trend on Stern games these days just to have a virtual kickback, which means it lights one of the out lanes. If you hit that, then it'll basically act as a ball save for you. Kiss is a game that comes to mind with this feature. Also, Aerosmith has another one. Backstage Pass is what I believe they call it on both of those games. So we'll see what Josh is able to pull off here. He's right at 62 million, which is a pretty good score for 1.5 balls. Nice slap save. Let's see. So he needs to hit the ball into Groot's mouth to start multi-ball. He went for it right there, but that's a difficult shot from the right flipper. And as you can see there, kind of had a funky bounce on him. That was a little unusual. It doesn't normally come out that way. Usually you see it bounce more towards the left out lane than the right on that shot. But unfortunate there, and he wasn't able to corral it. So we'll see if I'm able to do anything with my next ball. And again, my strategy is going to be to stack a multi-ball, in this case, orb multi-ball, with the pod chase mode, which is what's currently running. That's a good mode to start out with. Another danger there. You can tell just a little on edge. That's a good mode to start out with, because when you start the mode, all of the shots are lit for mode shots. And when you pair that with a multi-ball where all the shots are lit for jackpots, then you can really have a good scoring opportunity on your hands. So at this point, I am looking to cradle up and get a shot right there, just like that. That was almost picture perfect. So I've got my mode running with my multi-ball. I was able to get the hurry up completed in a quick amount of time, so my jackpots are, I won't say they're huge, but they're better than they would have been otherwise if I had taken my time trying to get the ball out of there. So nice little save there, but you could tell just not really comfortable, and it cost me the multi-ball. I just wasn't able to ever even get a trap under the ball, and I think I got maybe 1 or 2 jackpots. You can see 5.4 million out of that multi-ball, and where the jackpots the way they were basically means I got 3 of them. And there's another tilt. Just wasn't able to get in with the groove, caught a bad bounce in terms of me playing that bounce. That was a savable ball, but there were other decisions that could have been made there to save it, and I just wasn't getting into the flow of the game. So Tim had a pretty rough first ball. We'll see if he's able to pick things up here on his second ball. And you can see he's taking a second to let the tilt ball calm down a little bit after my tilt. It wasn't a huge tilt, more out of frustration than anything else, because I knew that ball was gone. But when you are in the A Division Finals, sure, there's a little bit of money on the line, but for the guys in this group, it's mostly for pride. You want to be able to say that you won the season that year and have bragging rights throughout the next season. So, you know, it may be the difference between $100 or so, but you really want to be able to get off on a good foot, on the right foot, and start off well, because it is so difficult to come back and try to get a run on these guys late in the game. And again, a poor multi-ball from Tim, but that puts him into second place. You can see I'm sitting somewhere in the neighborhood of under 10 million. Looks like Tim's in the neighborhood of 20. Chris is at around 30 something, I believe, but he is only on his, that's only through 1 ball. So he selects his mode, Makes a skill shot, and we'll see what he's got for us here on the second ball. Looks like he's going for that orb shot and gets a nice little power upward in lane to the scoop. That was a strange one. So he's got extra ball lit at the scoop. You are allowed to play one extra ball during league matches. So this is the hurry up. So you can plunge it into the plungers, which will stop the clock from counting down. But he chose just to do short plunge and is having a difficult time. Finally was able to get that ball out. But it's really crucial if you want to build up a good score on this multi-ball to get that hurry-up shot as quickly as you can. Nice job of trapping up. That was a great decision to flip there. I thought he might just let that one go, but really nice showcase of skill. So what he's trying to do now is put that ball back into the orb shot, just like that. That'll light his jackpots again. So now they're all lit for, let's see. It's difficult to read the screen, but looks like they're only lit for about 300,000. So you can see, whereas I was able to get my multi-ball started, the hurry up, more quickly, my jackpots are worth significantly more. Now, I didn't keep the ball in play, so it's possible that he will get more points on this multi-ball than I did on mine. As you see a nice little Elwyn flick there. But you can see if he was able to get that more quickly, how important it is for you to be able to get your hurry up and the significant difference that makes in your scores. So what he's trying to do here is put the ball in there just like that. That'll light your jackpots. I believe it's for 10 or 15 seconds. It's much like the not Magneto, the one of the multi-balls on Transformers, and I cannot remember what it's called. Megatron multi-ball. There you go. So there's a jackpot just in time for before the timer went out. So he wants to try to get a trap here. Flailing around really doesn't really do him a whole lot of good at the moment. There you go. Nice on the fly shot. So that, I believe, is lit for a super, which he collected with the action button. And I forget exactly what they're called, but there are 2 stand-up targets on either side of Groot's mouth. If you complete those, it will essentially give you a free shot during your multi-ball. It will complete one of the shots that you need towards your super jackpot if you hit the action button, which you can't see on the screen here, but is just below the 2 green scorecards in the center of the apron on the lockdown, or on the lockdown bar on the outside of the machine. So he lost his ball there, but pretty good job. Let's see, it's difficult to see his score, but he did collect his extra ball, so he's going to have another chance here to show us what he's got on ball 2.5. I'll tell you, the kicker on this out of the scoop on this particular game is nasty. That was pretty fortunate bounce there, but oftentimes it'll either go right down the middle. Nice drop catch. Nice. See, that was just a brilliant showcase of skill right there from Chris. Just a solid, smooth drop catch right into the ramp. Oftentimes, if there's maybe some spin on the ball or you pull off a really great drop catch like he just did, it kind of freezes you a little bit because you're not exactly sure, and oftentimes you'll miss your shot early because the ball isn't traveling quite as fast as it would be if you'd let it go from the top of the flipper. So you'll shoot it a little bit early, and not much you could have done about that. But either way, that was just brilliant play from Chris there. So you're gonna see him try to trap up here probably. Looks like he's going for his mode start and got the virtual kickback. To me, it's just more exciting to have the ball actually kick back out into the field of play, and they do that on these machines to save money on the bill of materials. It's easier to program, okay, just give them another ball than it is to actually fit another coil in the machine, cut a hole in the apron, and have somebody install it. So essentially, the award is the same, but the effect is not as good in my opinion. But this is a good Stern game. Everybody's excited about Iron Man, which just hit Bumper Dance today. And there were a few people over there playing it, but we're going to have a launch party tournament. And it's supposedly shipping with pretty complete code. And this game is, at this point, when we're recording it, pretty close to being finished. But a lot of the rules are, I won't say copy and paste, but typical of Stern games. A lot of the same type of rules in the modes that you would find in a game like Aerosmith or Kiss, for example. So Chris is doing, I was going to say he was doing a really good job of keeping the ball in play, but he did a nice job of making progress on that mode, setting himself up for the next ball, and he is now in the lead after that ball. Somewhere over 100 million, but again, it's difficult to read on the screen. Looks like Josh is going to be up here at about 63 million in second place. So he's basically going to have to double his current score just to catch Chris. And then afterwards, he'll have to try to put some separation between him, because he has a pretty decent amount of separation between me and Tim already. So for me and Tim to be able to come back and catch Chris, one of us would have to have a marathon ball, which is possible. It's just unlikely. So this is looks like he has maybe both multi-balls going at one time. He had 5 balls out there on the playfield. So not only do the balls get in the way of each other, but you have to be able to control them on the flippers, and you can see that just wasn't much in that for that reason. When you lose 3 balls automatically just because you can't even hold them on the flipper, that's not usually not going to be a fun time. But what you can do in that situation is, unless you have a clean shot, just let the balls drain so they get out of the way for a moment and get into the pop bumpers to give you an opportunity to make a shot with another ball. You'll see that on a lot of games. People will do that on games that they know have long ball timers after you start multi-ball, like Metallica is a good example of a nice long ball save when you start multi-ball. So he's going to go Groot all day, which essentially means you shoot the head up the middle until you get multi-ball, and then you do it again. But again, you might as well go ahead and start your mode. Oh, almost an opportunity for a Lazarus ball. And Lazarus is when a ball bounces off the right side of the apron and back into play. And that is legal. There are 2 other moves that will allow you to bounce the ball off the apron and back into play. One of which is called a death save. And if you get a ball screaming down the right in lane, you can move the game down to the left and then back up to the right, and it will bounce the ball off the left side of the apron. That was terrible play from me. But I got lucky. I got lucky with a ball save. So we'll see if I can make anything happen out of that lucky run there. But the death save will, you bounce the ball off the left side of the apron and back into play. Another one, which is a little more difficult to do in my opinion, is what's called a bounce back. And if you get a ball coming from the left in lane with some speed, you can hit the front of the game on the coin door where you put your money in, and it will actually carry the momentum of your bump to the ball, you hold up the left flipper, and it will bounce the ball off of the apron and onto the right flipper back into play. Both of those moves are illegal, but they're pretty cool to see when you do. It's just you don't see that very often because it's not allowed in competitive play, and for that reason, a lot of people just don't practice it. So because of that ball save, I'm able to start multi-ball, but again, for me right now, I'm focusing on getting as far ahead of Tim as I possibly can, because second and third place, I'm sorry, first and second place are just so far ahead. And nice power out lane there. Nothing really much I could do about that. You can kind of see me shaking my head. Just can't get in the groove. I got 15 million out of that, which put me ahead of Tim, but not significantly. So at this point, I basically have to start from scratch, go for one of the multi-balls, and make it all the way back around. So 6 shots at a minimum to get to multi-ball to be able to make some progress towards getting ahead of Tim. But I don't think that's possible at this point the way I'm playing. So what I'm trying to do here is pick away at as many mode shots as I can, because they're about 800,000 points apiece, so they're not exactly chump change, and that'll allow me to at least have a couple of shots over Tim, and that will be the third tilt for me in this game out of 3 balls, and just could not get in the groove. Just never felt comfortable on the game. Which is unusual for me with this game, because typically this is a game that I do play fairly well and I'm consistent with, but for some reason this particular time just wasn't grooving with me. So I'm ahead of Tim, but not very much, and we'll see if he's able to catch me and then chase down Josh and Chris. So going back to the music thing, I found that I like to listen to upbeat rock. In fact, I actually started listening to Iron Maiden because they had a pinball machine coming out, and I actually found out that is really good music to play pinball to. I've also listened to some Green Day while I was playing recently. As you see, Tim gets his bounce and right down the out lane. However, he was able to pass me with his mode points, so I'll come in last in the game. Tim is guaranteed third, and Chris is going to get the plunge away like he just said. He's excited about that. He'll come in first, which puts Josh in second place. And we're going to move on to our second game in the finals, which is Transformers. And Transformers is a game that has been out for a while. It's not one that I particularly care for, and it doesn't really get called that often in League. It has a few interesting layout features that I think were great in theory that just didn't really turn out all that great in execution in terms of the design. So Josh is going to be up here first. The main 2 multi-balls in this game are your Megatron multi-ball and your Optimus Prime multi-ball. Megatron multi-ball is started by shooting the shot just to the right of the left ramp that he just made, and you do that 4 times and it'll automatically start multi-ball for you. So it's an easy multi-ball to get. 4 shots and you're there. Optimus Prime multi-ball is the shot up the middle, which I think he just made right there. So that shot right there, you shoot that enough times, that will bring down a ramp, bring up a ramp in front of Optimus Prime. You shoot that a few more times and your multi-ball will begin. One of the interesting features that I do think this game implements pretty well is at the beginning of your game, you can choose to play as either an Autobot or a Decepticon, and based on your choice, it makes some features more or less difficult, and it changes the scoring on certain features of the game as well. So, for example, if you choose Autobot, then you'll have better scoring on your Megatron multi-ball, and vice versa. If you pick the Decepticons, you get better scoring on your Optimus Prime multi-ball, which is where the majority of the points are going to come from in this game. There are modes here, but they're sort of secondary to multi-balls, and it's one of those games where you just kind of have to chunk away. In your typical game, you're not going to get that one super triple jackpot that's going to win you the game, but you'll kind of chunk away at points, and your multi-balls are more insurance policy than anything else. So just under 3 million for Josh's first ball, and I'm going to step up and see what I have. So I chose to go with Autobots, which means that it's going to be more scoring for my Megatron multi-ball. I like to do that because it's a little bit easier to get to that multi-ball, and once you get there, the shots are lit for longer, and you have more options while shooting. So even though the points are generally worth less than the shots that are on the Optimus Prime multi-ball, there are more opportunities to score. So if you lose control, you can still pick up a few jackpots, even though it's not going to be worth quite as much per jackpot. So just trying to get calm here. I'd like to see myself be a little bit more patient on that shot. You could tell how the ball was still jiggling just a little bit. Like that one right there was a good try. And unfortunately, that left stand-up target to the left of that shot took me right down the middle. And that's just one of those speedy shots where there wasn't a whole lot I could do about it, except for aim better. And what I was trying to do there was actually go for the left ramp, because if you make a shot 4 times, that'll light your playfield doubler. It'll allow you to pick a shot on the playfield. The next shot that you make will be lit for double for the rest of the game, I believe. It's certainly not at least till the end of the ball. So we'll see. Tim looks like he's going to go for his Megatron multi-ball. Nice outlane save right there. That was just a really great nudge. That's what he's famous for, is his ability to keep the ball alive. Fast and loose, that's how he likes the games, and this game, it seems to suit him. They had one of these at their home for a while. I remember him telling me one time, so I know that he's intimately familiar with the rules and should be pretty comfortable with the shots on it too. So it looks like he actually has his right ramp doubled. You can tell by the little lit green arrow. So any shots made on that are going to be worth more. So he'll make that the focus of his multi-ball, which he just locked the 3rd ball for. Oh, excuse me, that was the 4th ball. So multipliers are lit again. See, he chose to go with the left ramp on the multiplier, which is a good choice in my opinion, because it's a fairly easy shot to make. Of course, I say that and just missed it a couple of minutes ago. But in terms of the other shots on the playfield, it's certainly a lot easier to hit than, say, the right ramp, which is pretty tight. There are a couple things that this game does really well, and there are a couple things that could certainly be improved. I think with another code update, this could be a pretty fun game. As it sits, this would be a good game if you are. This would be a serviceable game if you are a big Transformers fan. If you had one of these in your house, you're not a pinball guy, you could have a good time casually playing this game. For a pinball player, there are a few things that can be a little bit quirky. For example, the skill shot. The regular skill shot is 250,000 points. It's an easy lane select. You throw the ball up to near the pop bumper area. You select one of 2 lanes, 250,000 points. The super skill shot, you actually plunge it the same way, but you plunge it a little bit softer, and there's a certain area there for your super skill shot, which is worth 500,000 points. Well, the problem is that 250,000 points plus just a few pop bumpers will give you more, oftentimes more than 500,000 points. So the skill shot on this game is effectively pointless. And looks like Chris is up here. Tim ended with just over 6 million points for his first ball, 5 or 6 million, which is a pretty decent first ball. Considering how long he played, he's got 2 shots lit for multiplied jackpots when he's able to work his way around to multi-ball. And bit of a early miss there from Chris, but that's all right. He's one of the best I've ever seen at making adjustments on the fly. So he consciously checks for, okay, well, I missed that shot early, so if he's going to go for it now, drilled it. So if it was a left orbit, he missed early, but it was hard to tell exactly what he was going for. So he, on the previous shot, that is, obviously he was going for the left ramp there, which he's probably going to backhand. Yep. Looks like he's looking to maybe get a multiplier and then start his multi-ball. So that's at least 3 to the left ramp. He needs 1 more, and his multiplier should be lit. And those will be indicated. Just missed it there. Nice little bounce into the little scoop shot there. Very patient. Just missed a little bit late there. So he'll be able to make the adjustment here and nail it. Oh, surprised. Surprised him. This is a little bit of flailing from Chris. We don't see this very often. This is pretty uncharacteristic. So he got it that time. Looks like he may just need 1 more, actually. I'm pretty sure it's 4 shots. If you complete a shot 4 times, it'll light your multiplier. So he's got 3 balls locked for Megatron multi-ball. 1 more shot there, and he will start that multi-ball. But you really want to try to bring in that multiplier if you can. It really does make that much of a difference, because the shots in multi-ball just aren't worth that much. So anytime you can double up a shot for the rest of the game, or even for the rest of the ball, can have a significant impact. He's demonstrating I was going to say he was demonstrating a good example of keeping the ball in play, which he is certainly capable of doing for a long time. I've seen Chris have 30-minute balls before. You know, they're closing up the mall and we're trying to get out of there, and he's over there having the game of his life. So it's not unusual for him to have a long ball like that. So it looks like Josh is going to be going for his Optimus Prime multi-ball. If I remember correctly, he already had his Megatron multi-ball. So this is probably the smart play for him. Plus the jackpots are worth more in this multi-ball than they are in the other. Looks like he just got that started. So you want to shoot Optimus Prime, which will light your other jackpots for just a short amount of time. It doesn't stay lit for maybe 4 or 5 seconds, but because of that reason, they're going to be worth a little bit more than the Megatron multi-ball jackpots, which are lit for a longer period of time. And because he chose, at the beginning of the game, he chose Autobots, they are not going to be worth as much as they would have if he had chosen the Decepticons to play as a Decepticon, which I think is a really cool feature of this game. And it doesn't make the scoring so unbalanced that it gives an advantage to one or the other. It just changes the story. It changes the way that you approach the game, and I like that. It gives the player a challenge. If you feel comfortable one day, you know, if you had to say you had this game in a home setting, if you felt comfortable like you were getting pretty good scores one way, well, you could change it up and totally do it the other way. So it's kind of a neat thing. I'd like to see implemented maybe a few different ways with other games. It's just not something that you see very often. So he's going to get another multi-ball started here. And he's sitting at right around 8.5 million, which is pretty good pace right now, considering he's in the middle of his second ball. I would say a a good competition score on this game would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 million. But again, so to give you an example, he just got a replay score and he hasn't even hit 10 million points yet. So if you double the replay score, you like to think that you're doing pretty well. At least in a competitive setting, because if you go into the arcade and you put $5 or $6 into the machine, you could probably rattle off one 25 million point game if you know the rules and you know what you're doing. But you have to be able to do it on call. You have to be able to be consistent with it. That shot, I do like that shot. The left ramp for me is a kind of a neat feature that I would like to see in more games, where the shot sort of doubles back on itself, and it adds an interesting element. It makes the shot more compact, and I like the idea of that shot, I think, a little bit better than I like the execution. I'd like to see it actually lengthened out a little bit, because part of the wonder of pinball is being able to see the ball the travel around the physical world. And when you have the ball whip around the shot so fast like that, it kind of takes away from the wonder of it, I think, a little bit. That's just my opinion. Other people probably will say, no, I like the speed of that shot. So to each their own, I suppose. But if you think about it, you're not hitting that part of the ramp necessarily. You're hitting the entrance of the ramp, and what happens after that is supposed to be special, which in this case it is, but it's just not, it doesn't, there's not enough of it for me. So maybe someone will copy that feature in this game later on down the line. It just seems to me that this playfield is kind of clunky in the way that it plays, and also you have some shots that really, the right ramp, for example, it's a little too tight for me. It just doesn't really get used all that often. It's not something you actively shoot for like the left ramp, so for that reason it sort of feels unbalanced. So just a personal opinion. But Josh is putting together a really good ball here. He's up to about almost 18 million after 2 balls, which is very solid. That's a great score. And he's going to be out the right out lane. But really great ball. This game really doesn't offer a whole lot of bonus. Yeah, exactly, right there. Less than 200,000 points in bonus. So he could have tilted that away, no problem, and it would have been no big deal. So we'll see if I'm able to track him down. It's can be difficult to step up to a machine after somebody puts together a ball like that. It can be a little bit disheartening, especially after you had the first game start that I did. It's difficult not to get frustrated, and that's one thing that I am going to have to make a conscious decision. You can see still not getting comfortable on any of the games so far tonight, but going to have to be wary of and aware of in the future is not letting the first 2 games, that was just really poor, and you can tell the frustration is getting to me, and I'm just not in the pinball mindset. So that tilt right there actually won me the Mike Gray Slam Tilt Award for Best Rage Tilt in Finals. So thanks, Mike, for all your hard work and hard tilts so that we have an award named after you. So Chris is probably going to let that rest for a moment, but I'm sitting there at 1.3 million after 2 balls and just not able to get anything going so far today. And at this point, you're thinking, what's the point? Well, the point is, looking back on it, hindsight, of course, is 2020, that there is a certain amount of sportsmanship that goes along with the frustration angle. So if you get frustrated and you just decide you're not going to play, like I largely decided to do when we were recording this, it kind of takes away from the other guys being able to say, yeah, they beat the best at their best. So, you know, they probably didn't appreciate it. It's just not something that I'll be doing in the future. But it's hard. It's so hard not to get frustrated because pinball is a game where you know once you reach a certain point, you know that you can get to that point, but when you're not performing, it's frustrating because you say, "Well, I've done this before. Heck, I've scored, you know, 50 million points on this game." But you got to think that that was in practice, and Tim was not happy with that ball. Very short ball from Tim. That was in practice, and you're loosened up. You're there to have fun. Yeah, you're there to practice, but there's no competitive nature. It intensifies everything when you're in this competitive setting, especially in the finals. So there you see he got the 500,000 point super skill shot, but he missed out on the opportunity to score pop bumper hits, which is fairly insignificant. I mean, if you're going for a point where now you're looking, okay, well, I got to get to 20 million, a couple 100,000 points isn't going to make that big of a difference. That's not where the pop bumpers in this game are not going to get you where you need to be when you're looking for a 20 million point game. So it's just that scoring imbalance sort of bothers me for some reason because it's so obvious on this game. So he's going to continue to fire away at the left ramp. You can loop that back and forth and loop it and loop it. It's just really tight. Comes off of the feed pretty fast there. Nice live catch from Chris there. He's one of those guys that will definitely wow you with his flipper skills. He can pull off some ridiculous moves. And he's just smart. He's smart with the way that he plays because if he doesn't, of course, I haven't seen a move that he can't do, but if he doesn't feel like he can do the move at that particular time, he doesn't do it. He makes the decisions in split second to find another way to either get control on the ball or sometimes just flip it away. Because if you try to over control the ball it could be totally different from one game to another about how controllable the ball is. And he's going to get multi-ball started here. He's going to fire it into the Megatron and light up his jackpots. And he has passed Tim with this multi-ball and got his replay, so he's on a good little roll here. Because at this early in the game, we're at 2 games out of 5, and you have to be in the mindset that even if I don't win this game, if I pick up a second place, he already picked up a first place in the previous game, well, he's going to be sitting in pretty good shape there after 2 games. So he's one of those I've seen him been able to keep that mindset of being able to push and being able to push and being able to push. And that can be difficult. So right now he is trying to stop that ball. Nice live catch right there off the orbit. He was trying to stop that and put it into the Megatron shot so that he can relight his jackpots. Going for a cradle separation there. Kind of failed on him, but that's all right because he still has control of one ball. Brilliant. Nice drop catch. That was gorgeous. And he's missing that shot late like I did, and that's the same way that I drained my first ball. And for some reason, it's just easy to do on this game. Because of the way that shot is angled, it looks like it would be later than it actually is. So decent multi-ball there from Chris. And he is working on going towards his Autobot multi-ball. It looks like taking shots at the left ramp. You can see that was 500,000 right there. It's not exactly chump change. And he knows this game pretty well. I am pretty sure that he had this exact game. There are actually 2 of these Transformers at Bumpernets, but he had one of these 2 games at his house for a while he was making a few repairs and giving the game what we call a shop job, a shop out, which is just where you tear down the top of the playfield, clean everything, and then reassemble it. And you don't have to do that too often. I would say maybe like once a year for every game. But it makes a huge difference when you get that playfield waxed up and clean, put on new rubbers, and the thing is just flying around. It's like you just opened up the box. See, that doubler on the right ramp, or on the left ramp, excuse me, gave him 1,000,000 points there. So off of those 2 shots, he was able to rack up 1.5 million points. And when the margins are as large as they already are, that adds up and makes a pretty big difference. So he's in first place. Wow, what a save that was. Didn't even move the game. I wonder how many hours of pinball Chris has played in his lifetime. Thousands, I'm sure. And you can just tell he's able to recognize the spin on the ball, even though visually you can't really see it because the ball is solid steel. It's difficult to see that the ball is actually spinning, but it is a factor in the game. So if you have a ball coming towards the flippers and it's spinning towards the right side, it's going to grip that rubber and fire off the flipper if you just let it dead bounce. And that was a really great live catch there from Chris. But if it's spinning the other way, it's going to put some stop motion on it, so it may fling it more upwards and towards the middle. So these are the kinds of things that you have to factor in. Another great drop catch from Chris. A nice flick there to keep that ball in play. Most people would have let that go. So he's taking the shots on the doubler while he can. And it looks like that doubler is only good for the ball because he had 2 others up there that are no longer there. So he's you can stack your multi-balls together. And there is a super jackpot available. I just, we don't play this game that often, so I'm not entirely sure what the rules are on it. Pretty sure you have to hit Optimus Prime enough times and clear out the jackpots, and then it will light Optimus for a certain amount of shots to get a super, but don't take my word for it on that one. The general wisdom is just to shoot the lit shots. That's what pinball is. Get multi-ball, shoot things that are flashing. If it's flashing the most, shoot that, because it could be worth more, or could be advancing towards something else that you need. Wow, that was nice. Wow, that was gorgeous. Look at that control, it's amazing. So there is your, look, that was probably a super jackpot right there. Oh, he just stacked his multi-balls is what he did. So he can sort of flail around with impunity. He's got a few seconds to rack up some jackpots here because he has a ball save, which is now gone. It was a relatively short ball save, so now he's got to be thinking about maybe trapping up if he loses one of these balls. Just like that, but that was still excellent. So now he has options. Oh, nice save. So you want to put the ball right back in there. Go for the jackpots. Nice shot there. 35 million on this game in a finals division is seriously impressive, considering that we just went from a very flowy type game, which is Guardians of the Galaxy, very reminiscent of something like Metallica, where the shots are flowy, to something like this, which is very blocky, and the shots are just different. They feel different. And, this game's a little bit older, that game's brand new, but to be able to perform on one game the way that he did and win Guardians of the Galaxy and be able to immediately turn it around and do what he's doing right now in Transformers is just a testament to his skill level, which is just impressive. So he's got 3 doublers now. which, again, that makes a big difference in this game. That's going to be out there. Yep. A little unfortunate there. And it was a good attempt there at the backhand, but couldn't quite bring it down. So let's see. He's at 40 million, which is just incredible to be able to do that on demand. You would think that with this score, he's pretty much got it wrapped up, because there's no way with the night that I'm having that I'm putting up a ball like that. And Tim certainly could do it, but he'd be coming from behind pretty significantly. Just sort of pecking away right now at some mode shots. Just multiplied that shot there. There's only 2 more shots left to multiply. And those are the right ramp, the right orbit, excuse me, that he just hit, and then the other one is the Optimus Prime shot up the middle. Which that wouldn't be a bad choice, because that shot seems to get hit a lot, because it's such a wide shot. I feel like they could have taken a little bit away from that shot and then made the right ramp a little bit easier so that it would get shot a little bit more often, but I think they were hoping for either they needed room for the mechanism, or they were hoping that the Optimus Prime multi-ball would be sort of the main feature of the game. It's really not, because of the way that it's coded. It's just easier to get to the Megatron multi-ball. So that's sort of on the game designer for that one. So he's picking up some pretty good shots here. Those double shots are no slouch. Nice backhand there. And again, these are just mode shots. This is a good way to utilize what you have without actually trying to do too much to go for a multi-ball. If you are able to make some locks, that's great. But these are pretty significant shots that he's making here. 500 there, 800 there, 300 there. Really does kind of add up. You just have to sort of pick away at it. You just don't have the safety of having that other ball, but he does now. So he can continue. And this is a game that really does reward a long ball time. Because if you're able to put together some of these multipliers, if you're able to get a multi-ball going with your mode, and you're able to keep the ball in play and chunk away, you can really see some big scores like we're seeing right now, which is exactly what he's done. We're at 55 million. That was a nice save there. That's a difficult feed coming down if you miss that ramp on the backhand. But it's just hard on the forehand too, because as you saw earlier, where I missed it to the left, it went right down the center. Great ball. What an amazing ball from Chris. He says he was dialed in on his bonus. Let me put that in perspective. His bonus is about 3 times more than my entire first 2 ball score. If that tells you anything about how poorly I'm playing and how amazing that ball was. So, Josh has the extremely difficult task and the honor of trying to follow that up. So he has to triple his score just to catch Chris. And that is no tall feat, considering that he's already doubled the replay score. And he doesn't really have a whole lot working for him at the moment either. I don't think. Maybe his second lock. No, so the locks are not lit currently. So now at this point, there are 4 stand-up targets. Or 3 or 4 stand-up targets that you have to hit. Right there, he hit one of them on either side of the Optimus Prime, and then there's one on in between the right ramp and the right orbit, just to light one Optimus Prime lock, which that gets really difficult once you start getting into your third and fourth Optimus Prime. I'm sorry, Megatron multi-ball locks gets very difficult. So it looks like he's going to go for Optimus Prime, which is that's the better play here, for sure. But right now, he's just thinking about separation, because it is entirely possible for Tim to come back and catch him. It's not uncommon for Tim to put up a 18 million point ball in this game. That's trouble. Nice save. Did that, and he turned it into something good. So he's got 2 locks actually already, so he could go for either one now, but it looks like he's got one more shot to start multi-ball for Optimus Prime. That'll probably be what he'll do, and we'll see if he's able to. I'm not sure why he didn't take. So he's got a shot multiplier lit. I would take it right up the middle. That way you multiply the shot that you need. He did, but it didn't register. Multiply the shot that you need to start multi-ball, and you... Careful, careful, careful. Ah! That's really unfortunate, because he had a lot of good things going for him. He could have multiplied his Optimus Prime shot, which he needed for his multi-ball anyway, and then really had a chance to get some big points on the board there, and unfortunately it goes out the right out lane. But solid game from Josh there. Really well done on the first 2 balls especially. And here I am, only about 9 times shy of even second place. So after the first 2 balls, look at that, right down the middle almost. So just catching bad bounces, not getting into the groove, if there is one in this game. That's for sure. That's twice the exact same thing happened. You can tell the frustration is just eating at me. That's just really poor play on my part. And, you know, it's bad decision making too, because I attempted the exact same shot twice in a row. Just wasn't thinking the thought process. That's a difficult backhand shot. It's pretty tight into that Megatron multi-ball shot, and I wasn't even able to start a single multi-ball the whole game. So certainly a well-deserved last place on this one. So Tim needs about 13 million to catch Josh, which he can do. I've seen him do it before, and that is not going to do it. So again, Chris is going to walk away and plunge off the ball for the win, and puts up a monster score on the first 2 balls, and just ran away with that one for sure. So nice job, Chris. I'm sure he's excited to write those scores down. I certainly would be too, but excellent job. And I'm glad we're we're done with that game, which means I don't have to see it until next season, because it is certainly not one of my favorites. You know, I love all pinball, but I just happen to love some more than others. So it looks like he's got 6 points. He's trying to show the scores here. So 6 points. I've got 0. Josh has 4 points, and Tim has 2 points at the end of 2 games. And we're going to move on to actually a game that I really do enjoy. This is Paragon from Bally. And Paragon is a game that can be so brutal sometimes. This one in particular plays really difficult. This is a really good game to learn your tap passes on, which I'm sure we will see a few tap passes, and looks like Josh is up first here. Tap pass is a move where you can really only pull off on these older Bally games, where you barely tap the flipper button, and you roll the ball down towards the end of the flipper, you tap the end of the flipper button, and you flip just enough to pop the ball from one flipper to the other. So we'll see if I'm able to do anything here on the first ball. Not much from Josh at all, really, on his first ball. This is a really unique game, how it's laid out. You can see that was almost a failed tap pass right there. I let the ball go too far and then didn't hit the flipper quite hard enough. That's the danger there, is that if you don't hit it hard enough, you just let the ball drain right down the center. So the idea, the main features of this game are your bonus, and once you reach 20, 30, or 40,000 points in bonus, that'll carry over from ball to ball to the next ball. So out of the beast layer there, you can tell just not having a good night so far, and not happy with that. Once you get in there, it's really difficult. It's probably 20%, 25% once you get that ball out there in the pop bumper that's actually going to come back to you. But the main features of the game are the drop targets on the left, just above the upper left flipper. And those are your bonus multipliers. And if you knock all those down, there is a special and a 5x multiplier up there that are very valuable in this game. There are 2 saucers at the top. One is the spell Paragon. It's not really worth all that much, but it will give you some bonus. And then on the upper left side, you have the Golden Cliffs, which is an increasing amount each time you hit it. So the first time, maybe 2,000 points, but if you hit it 5, 6, 7 times, it may be worth 14,000 points a hit. So not much from Tim there either. So maybe Chris will be able to put together a nice ball here. And you can see he actually went for the post transfer to roll it over to go for those drop targets on the left side, because those will build your bonus and multiply it. So it's usually a pretty good idea to start there, and got what we called being scissored. When you go through the gap on the 2 flippers on the right side, that was a common feature from games of this era. Globetrotters had this game. Some Williams games had this. I had a game at one point called Satin Doll, which had that feature. It's really kind of annoying, but it can add a little bit of random fun to the game. So love it or hate it, you just have to, one of the things you have to deal with. So the spinner, which is to the right of the drop targets, will add bonus. It's a pretty good shot if you happen to not have a shot on the drop targets or they're already completed, because that'll help advance towards your 20,000 in bonus. That's the key thing, is since this game is set to 5 balls, if you complete your 20,000, 30,000, or 40,000 point bonus, that value will carry over to the next 4 balls. So if you're able to do that on ball 1, it can really mean some big scores on this game. So Josh is putting together a pretty good ball here. It looks like he's already has 2x scoring. 2x bonus. He's sitting on about, looks like he's pretty close to his 20,000 in bonus. Yes. So you can say he got super bonus. So his 20,000 is going to carry over from this ball and then the next 3 balls. So that means those bonus multipliers are huge, because he already has banked 60,000 points in bonus. So he's going to end up after ball 2 with around 50,000 points. It's good to see I'm still smiling at this point, having fun, because I'm not having much fun on the playfield. But nice little live catch there. That was a pretty good example of a live catch, of a tap pass. I like to do it. It's a pretty fun move. And I've got Bally Star Trek at home, another nice live catch. Bally Star Trek at home that allows me to practice that maneuver. So I've been able to get pretty comfortable with that. So I've racked up pretty decent bonus. I've got 3x bonus, 1 shot up there. There's actually a saucer now that I'd have to make it into for 5x bonus. So at this point, just trying to get to that 20,000 mark to help, and got scissored. Got scissored, I believe, with 18,000 in bonus. So just barely missing out, which is unfortunate. So, because even though I have 86,000 points after that ball, it's just not going to be as good as it would have if I'd have maybe hit 1 or 2 more switches that would have helped that carry over. So let's see what Tim's got for us here on ball 3. Quick ball 1, but thankfully he's got 4 more to help him get in the groove here. this game can be brutal, and there's a perfect example of that. 2 balls and just nothing going. That's one of the things. That's the thing. Well, people say, well, why do people still play these old games? Why are they part of the competition? You know, when we have these brand new, shiny, new in-box games that we can pull out with all these ramps and all these wonderful toys and features that go with it, the artwork, you know. Well, the reason is because these games, they can be set up difficult. These games are punching you in the face every single ball, and they were intended to be that way. And that's how a lot of people fell in love with pinball, was playing games from this era, because it's simple to understand. You know what you're supposed to do after you play it a couple of times, but it's a difficult thing to master. It's sort of like playing poker in that way, where it takes 5 minutes to learn and a lifetime to master it. Well, it's the same way. I mean, even if you've been playing these games for 30 years, you could still walk up to one and have your butt handed to you. So there are a few skills from playing modern games that can be carried over, but there are also things that can't be carried over. Um, for example, you really don't want to try to over control the ball on games from this era, because it'll get you into trouble. Especially these Bally's in particular. You can get away with it a little bit more on Williams from this era, but I wouldn't say that this was Williams' heyday. They had a few really good electromechanical games in the 70s. The 80s, they had one or two pretty good classic games, and then the 90s, they really hit it big when they hired Steve Ritchie. So, so quick ball from Josh. That was not much going for him, but he was able to bank his bonus. So here's actually a pretty good chance for me to get out ahead of everybody, because I am already ahead of everyone else through least amount of balls, and just that was a savable ball. But I didn't want to get scissored. I didn't want the same thing to happen exactly as it happened in the previous ball. So unfortunately, off the tip of the flipper on the upper right flipper, and right down the middle, and the reaction time, the window there is just so small that you basically have to be perfect in order to be able to save that ball. But it just goes to show how you can make these games really hard to play. And if you're putting up big scores, change the setting and tilt the game, and suddenly you've got a real challenge on your hands. So see if Tim got eaten by the Beast Slayer. That's what they call it over there on the left side, where that single pop bumper is. That's what I really appreciate about this game, is that it's so different, and there are so many features. Like, you can look at one single area of the playfield and say, well, that doesn't look like anything else I've seen. You know, the bottom third has that area with the one pop bumper and that huge outlane. You have the right flippers on the right side. That'll scissor you. You've got the waterfall up at the top of the playfield, and you have the drop targets on the side. It just makes for such a great package. And you throw that around, throw that in with some just amazing Paul Ferris art. This is just a classic at its best. I mean, this is classic pinball the way that it was meant to be. And kind of a fun fact, the woman on the back glass is intended to be, whoo, careful, is intended to be Paul Ferris's wife, and the guardian warrior on the back glass is actually a self-portrait of Paul Ferris. So I thought that was kind of funny. He must think very highly of himself. But it wasn't uncommon to do things like that for artists back in the day. They would make a likeness of somebody that either worked at the pinball factory or or that they knew. And as you got later into more complex games with DMD displays, there are a lot of Easter eggs, hidden modes. Um, like there are things where you can punch in certain flipper codes and it'll give you hidden messages. And Steve Ritchie games are pretty famous for having a lot of Easter eggs in them. So it looks like Chris was able to lock in his 20. The bulb's out on the playfield, but he got 3x on 20, so he's up to 160. It puts him in the lead pretty significantly, and he's got 3 balls to bank, or 2 balls banked at least 20 bonus. So Josh is really going to have to put something that's right down the center. Caught a bad bounce with a spinning ball. Nothing there to stop it from going right down the center. And the tilt is actually pretty maneuverable on this game. You can move the game around a little bit, but this game is so wide that the cabinet is stiffer than it would be on a normal size body game, so it's actually more difficult to move it. Because when you move the game, the cabinet actually flexes a little bit on a modern game, and you can actually feel the tension of the wood sometimes. And again, just not happy with how the evening is going. Not able to take advantage of anything that is presented to me. And, you have that, but you just have to keep going. There's a certain amount of pride in getting to this point, so you want to be able to perform your best on this particular night, and when it doesn't go your way, it can be very frustrating. So Tim, again, stepping up from behind, but, Tim's had a lot of experience with this game. I don't think they own one, but this game has been at Bumper Nets for years. So I know that he's had a lot of time spent on. This actually is a game that does get called a lot because not only is it a really fun game, but it's a challenging game. And it's a game that A division players like to pick because you're not going to get on this game and luck into a win. If you get on this game and you win, you earned it. So not sure exactly what that was intended to be, but so what just happened there was that he almost made the 5x shot right there, but you kind of have to rattle it in like he did right there because oftentimes there's a piece of plastic there that will prevent the ball from actually settling down into the saucer up there. And when that happens, it just falls right back in. So he got 2 really good shots on it right there, and he's really doing well here. I believe he got he got an award for that. It might have been the 5x, but he got, if you knock down all the targets one more time and get it into the saucer, you actually get a special for doing that. Free game. It's just a really difficult thing to do. You don't see too many free games on this particular Paragon. So that should put him at least at 20 for his bonus. With that nice spinner rip right there. That's okay. So right here, what happened is that the plastic was loose. So we're gonna have to find the key. I'm gonna edit out the footage, but we're gonna find the key and get that corrected, put it all back together so we can finish the game. That's a really strange one that doesn't happen very often. There was actually there's a wing nut that's supposed to be there that wasn't there. So once we got everything put back together, we got the game repaired. He was able to continue his ball. Sort of a wacky deal right there. But when that happens and you're in the middle of a huge ball like he was, it can throw you off so much because you're feeling it, you're in the groove, and suddenly you have to stop and get out of pinball mode for a few seconds even, and it'll throw off your concentration. So hopefully he's able to continue his good play here. But he's definitely already at 20,000 in bonus, so he's really looking to extend that and go to 30 so he can carry that over into the next couple of balls. Looks like he's sitting right at 28. That's a nice decision there to slow the game down. think he was going for, not sure what that was about. And right now he's trying to go for a spinner so he can get bonus. And that should have put him right there over 30. This is a monster ball that Tim's putting together here. And, you know, I've said it a lot of times that your lead isn't safe, and here comes Tim. You know, he was sitting there after 2 balls with maybe 22,000, and with the bonus, he's already well over Chris's score from the last ball. So even though Chris has that banked, Tim's well on his way to banking 40,000 times whatever multipliers he's able to put together on the next couple of balls. I'm sorry, Tim. Tim is doing well. That was a weird one right there. I think he hit the spinner while it was spinning and caught it just the right time to fire it back right at the center. So what an excellent ball from Tim. This is going to be a pretty huge bonus right here. Going to be 5x times 40,000, 49,000. So whatever that equals. So he's got over 300,000 points. So that one ball was worth 360 plus thousand right there, which is just insane. And because this game is a 5-ball game, you're not allowed to play your extra ball. So he did collect his extra ball and is just sponging it right now. So he's got that bonus right there, an additional 40,000. So just massive, just huge, huge ball.
That song already stuck in your head.
Oh, wait, Carol's Whisper, that song stays stuck in my head.
So it'd be interesting to think what Chris has going in his mind right now, because he really needs to pass Josh and get a second place if he wants, nice save, if he wants to solidify his chance to win. I mean, he's playing well, and he's currently in 3rd place with some bonus banked, but if he's able to get a first and a second with 2 games to go, it'd be really difficult for him to, I think he would basically lock up 2nd place in the tournament in the league from just that. So having a good ball here is still important for him. That's going to be out, but you know, he's going to get in the clubhouse after 4 balls, excuse me, with 216. So one more ball to go from everybody here. Josh really needs to put something together here, because if he doesn't do well, and that's not going to do it, got a house ball, didn't even get a chance to flip. 1 pop bumper, and that was that. So, I mean, 125 is not a bad score on this game, considering how difficult it plays. So the fact that every player got to 100,000 points on this game, and that got last place, 100,000 got me last place, is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, that just, the level of competition, and I would say that this is the correct group. These are the best 4 players consistently in the league. There are some players that we play tournaments with that you could throw in here, but they either don't live in Birmingham and don't play regularly with the league, or they just play tournaments. So,
It's not just this game, though.
and the margins now are so thin. The B division group, which we will definitely take time to film next season, there's still great players in that group. I mean, it's not unheard of for an A division player to drop out and to swap places with a B division player, just because the competition and the margins are so razor thin nowadays. Because you see somebody will get into it, you know, they'll start playing games at bumper nets, and then they'll say, well, all these guys have machines in their home, and maybe he started out in the lower part of B division and was practicing and working his way up. Tim's going to be out there, no big deal. He's already got a huge score. So, but maybe they start out at the bottom of B division, but once they get a game at home and they're able to practice, that's when they really start to take off, because you're never going to play the same game twice, but you can start recognizing things in the way that the ball bounces around the playfield that you can translate to other games. So Chris says, okay, well, now I just had to put up an entire game on this ball to catch Tim, but he's already solidified second place. So really no pressure here. He's kind of playing for fun, and again, doesn't really matter. Wasn't a whole lot he could do about that anyway. So he'll take second place, and he will be firmly in first place for the tournament, and is really, really putting together a great night here. And we're going to move on now to the fourth of 5 games, which is WrestleMania. And it seems to me like we all got together and we decided, hey, why don't we pick the worst games ever for an A Division final? Because this has certainly been a few interesting choices, to say the very least. This is a game that, in a lot of ways, is just a horrible mistake. The theme is not something that I think jives with certainly me and not a lot of the pinball crowd, and the artwork is just mediocre at best. The call-outs are not very exciting, and the rules are just and playfield are just ridiculous. The main feature of the game, which of course is the ring at the center and the top of the playfield that you see there, but this is just a bad idea and bad execution, because it distracts from the rest of the game, but it also is not. It's luck. There's almost no skill involved with completing this, the fights in the ring. And essentially the whole game comes down to lighting fights in the ring. I know there was a code update that was done to try to combat this. They made you have tag team multi-ball, which is designed to make you explore some of the other features of the game, but it just doesn't work out. The game is just not very good. I would say this is probably Stern's worst release in the last 10 years probably. At least the last 5 years, but you know, I understand that there are still limited edition new in box games sitting at distributor warehouses right now because nobody bought them. Nobody wanted the game. There wasn't really hardly any interest in the game, and certainly the majority of the pinball community was just not excited when it was released, and continues to not be excited about it at all. So that's my rant about the game. But you can see that Chris has started multi-ball here and seems to be having a good start to his first ball. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. We picked up in later on in the game, so this might actually be his final ball. This might be okay. So this is the end of ball 2. So Josh ended his second ball with 65 million. So he's in the lead, and he's pretty far ahead in terms of the percentage here. But that's an okay score after 2 balls. I would say that's pretty average. That's on par with what you would consider to be a pretty decent game. But the game scores a lot higher now than it did when it was first released. After the latest code updates, they added some scoring features that allows you to get bigger scores. So that 65 million is better. It's not as significant as it would have been after the initial release, but still a nice couple of balls from Josh. And Chris is pecking away at his lead. And I think if he comes in second place here, Chris pretty much has the season wrapped up in a bow. He can take it home and give the money and the trophy to Paula. Yeah, we don't have a trophy, but he's got a plaque. Actually, you can see, if you look at the player cam, the top left corner of the screen, you can see the corner of the Chris Warren Pinball Row plaque that we presented to him at the end of last winter season, I believe it was, for everything that Chris has done for us. And first of all, there wouldn't be a Magic City Pinball League without him, and even if there was, it wouldn't be the same. So Chris, again, thanks for everything that you've done for us, man. We appreciate it. And I know that he's worked hard for a lot of years on making sure that the Birmingham pinball community exists and exists with the quality of people and the quality of machines and players that that we have. We're extremely fortunate, and we may be a small, tight-knit group, but it's an amazing group of folks that he brings together every Tuesday night for several weeks out of the year. We run 3 or 4 seasons every year, so we wouldn't have those friendships without him. So we certainly appreciate everything he's done. And he's putting together a solid second ball here. He's made pretty good progress towards catching up with Josh here, and looks like he just made a pin in the ring. So that'll be worth 40 million. Look, he's excited about that. That was huge. And I'm not terribly familiar with the rules on this game either, because it never gets called again, because it's just not a great game. But that's a huge pin right there. Normally the pins are not worth maybe 5 or 6 million. So excellent job there, and a great ball. So that puts him at 106, and Josh is going to have to chase him down here. Again, Josh is playing well and has put up some really great scores this evening, but man, Chris is just on a tear, so he's the man to beat for sure. And he was the top seed going in the tournament, so he gets to play last. I believe that's how that worked out, which is exactly where he likes to play. I've said before on the channel that I actually like to play first. I prefer to play first most of the time so that I can try to put the pressure on my opponents. So if I step up and put a big ball up, that intensifies everybody behind me, intensifies everything that they have to do, knowing that I just put up a big score. So quick multi-ball from Josh. I think he would have wanted a little bit more out of that. And you can see that he has a different style. He's sort of somewhere in the middle between the way that Tim plays and the way that Chris plays. Tim's very on the fly, and Chris is very controlled. So he's, I would say he leans a little bit more towards an on-the-fly type play like you would see from Tim. But there are some times where Josh will wow you with a save, a slap save, like something you might see Chris do, and you're thinking, gosh, well, we know where he learned that. And at this point, I've basically phoned it in. I've taken last place on each game this evening, so I'm not too terribly concerned about how I'm playing here. And in fact, I had considered just going home at this point, but you know what, these guys deserve to have their good games filmed, and I'm glad I stuck around for it. If you've made it to the A Division finals in this league, you've actually done a pretty good job, considering that, you know, especially, I would say that there are some very high caliber players, and Chris and Tim certainly are at the top of that. I mean, these guys are world-class players in the top 200 in the International Flipper Pinball Association, which is just unreal. They travel all across the country to go to tournaments, and my traveling experience has been limited, but hopefully in the near future I'll be able to go to one of these big tournaments that they get to go to every year. It seems like they have a great time when they go. So that's going to be it for me on that game, right under 30 million, which, you know, is not a huge game by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. So we'll see what Tim's got for us on his third ball, if he can track down. So he's got to be able to get to Chris, and then if he's able to do that, I don't know if he can mathematically win the tournament anymore after taking 3 third places rather. But he could still possibly pass Josh. I don't know exactly what the math looks like at this point, but he starts multi-ball. It says complete all your major shots to light super jackpot. But it just, you know, the ring up top really takes away from the flow of the game. So let's see, he's sitting at 8.4 million, so he's actually got to track me down first, and then he's got to go after Josh, who's sitting at 65 million. I mean, it's certainly possible for him to do that, you know, but he's not having his best night. I've seen him play certainly a lot better than that. Him having a bad night, me having a bad night, as you can tell, are two totally different things. That's going to be that same. That looked like it was going right down the middle.
You gotta have your mindset in mind.
So sounds like I'm being consoled in the background how poorly I'm playing that all night. Josh is saying you got to be in the mindset. You got to have the mindset for pinball, and he's right. You know, I just wasn't there. And against these guys, you got to be 100% there if you want a chance to take home gold. That was a nice little sequence there with the decision to nudge the ball out of the out lane and then to take the dead bounce so that you can have a controlled shot on the next flip. So he's just sort of inching away. He's got his pin, so we'll see what that's worth. 11.3 million. So that's going to help at least push him towards past me. I think he's probably got it at this point in bonus. Oh yeah, he's definitely got it now. So he's wrapped up another third place at least, and he's got his eyes set on the 76 million, which it's doable, I would say, for sure. And this is a game that he tends to, this is a long playing game for a lot of folks, but especially for Tim. He's got these shots nailed down, so not much going on in the ring up there. You have to light that. And I think, I don't know, it's been a while since we played this, and surely he knows the rules, I would think, but you have to hit the 3 flashing drop targets in the center of the playfield. You have to drop those twice, and that'll relight your ring for you to start another match. I think he's just trying to figure that out. He's got a ball save running, so we'll get that back. I'm not sure what that ball save was from. It was just sort of incidental. I don't know what that was about, but I'm sure he'll certainly take it. So let's see if he starts to go for the drop targets here or starts to relight his ring. There is a multi-ball available for hitting that under loop, as we see him drain out, and Chris gets another plunge off win. So it seems like Chris has played like 30% fewer balls than everybody else tonight. So good for him. I know he's excited about another plunge off, which is just the level of play from Chris tonight. He came in here looking to win. He was not messing around. So another great win. All of those are pretty good scores. If you exclude my 20 million from that list. So Josh wasn't quite able to track him down, and Chris is actually going to get on the board here. So he got looks like the second highest score on the machine. High score 1, so you have grand champion, then you have high score 1, 2, 3, and 4 respectively. And we're going to move on from WrestleMania, thankfully, to our final game in the A-Division Finals, which of course is Stern's Star Wars. It's good to see everybody shaking hands. It's excellent sportsmanship from everybody involved. They're all such great guys, and regardless of what happens. You know, we're all out here being competitive. We're all trying to win, but at the same time, you know, you got to see these guys next season. So you wanna keep your composure even if you're having a bad time. And although you're not playing well like I am on the play field, you can still have fun with it, which it's supposed to be fun. You know, it's about the journey, not necessarily the result, although I would have liked to have played better. I still had a great time hanging out with these guys, and I would do it anytime, any day. In fact, we do it pretty frequently, so it's just a great group of folks that we have here at the Magic City Pinball League, and we're very fortunate, all of us. So Josh is up here first on Star Wars. Star Wars is a game that is a Steve Ritchie design. It's fairly new. Stern design came out last year, 2016, or actually 2017. And this is one of Josh's favorite games as we see him drain out there. And he knows he could have done a little bit better there. But this is one of Josh's favorite games. He'll tell you that it's one of Steve Ritchie's best games. I would wholeheartedly disagree, and his argument would be that the software on this game is better, and yes, it is very deep. This is a very deep game in terms of the rule set. However, in my opinion, Stern skipped a few things about this game that are pretty critical. So for me, the cabinet artwork and the back glass are great. The artwork there is amazing. And the playfield artwork, as you see me tilt out again, just at this point phoning it in. The playfield artwork for me is pretty atrocious. And I don't know who approved it, but it just seems very haphazard and not very well thought out. And I know that that's not the fault of the artist. It's Lucasfilm, who, or I suppose it's Disney at this point, who approves the artwork, and they had a certain idea of what they had in mind, and I don't think the execution is quite what they were thinking in terms of the final product on the playfield. So Tim is going to be up here for his second ball. And this is a game that Tim tends to like. I would say his average score is somewhere around the billion or more point range. And he, I think, could still take second place in the tournament if he were to come in first and Josh were to come in last place on the game. Tim could still get second place overall in terms of how the points are set up. So he chose to light his Death Star missions, and I believe you have to complete the lit shots here, which will finish the mode and give you the opportunity for a multi-ball on your next shot. So he's unable to do that. Hit the stand-up target just to the right of the spinner on the left orbit, and it went right down the middle. It was pretty quick. You know, there's not really a whole lot you can do about that. He made an attempt to save it, but it happened so quickly that it's already in the drain before you can react as quickly as you would have needed to save that. So Chris is up here. If he wins this game, or even if he comes in, I believe even second or third at this point, he can still win the tournament as long as he beats Josh. If he beats Josh, then the Magic City Pinball League 2018 winter season will be his, and he can bask in the glory. So he's going to have to finish his Death Star mode here, and just like Tim had the opportunity to do, he actually has two. So he has two chances. The indoor modes down there at the bottom towards the flippers, the green banana target or banana insert will be finished if he completes the green shots, and if he completes the purple shots, the purple one just above the Millennium Falcon in the middle of the playfield will also be lit for multi-ball. And he's not going to be able to get either one of those done on that ball, but that's okay. He'll have another chance when it comes around for the third ball. So we'll see if Josh is able to pull away here. He really needs a win if he wants to have a chance to maybe have a tiebreaker with Chris here. But he's going to have to really put together a solid ball. And even if he does put together a solid ball, that's no guarantees. There are certainly no guarantees against these guys. So he's got to hurry up here. That was a nice backhand, very clean. And he wants to try to shoot the Death Star. I think that maybe locks in your jackpot, similar to on the Guardians of the Galaxy we were watching earlier, how that determines your jackpot value. It may not be the case here, but this is a game that I don't really play a lot of. Because if I'm going to practice, I want to go play something I enjoy a little bit more. It just feels to me that this is a dream title for many, many players. And it was just, there were so many things that they could have done, force magnets and theme integration wise, and artwork on the playfield layout, on the playfield. And the playfield's just sort of bare. It just seems like a missed opportunity for Stern to really hit a home run. And for me, they maybe hit like a double. And I think that's really all they needed to do to sell a bunch of these games, which I'm sure they did. Star Wars is a highly desirable franchise, and I'm sure they made out okay on this one. So let's see if Josh is able to pull off something big here. Whoa, nice little double in lane there. The second one kind of snuck in there. Whoa, Lazarus ball. That's what we were talking about earlier, where the ball came off the apron and back into play. And it looks like he just stacked his multi-ball with another one. So he had a brief ball save and sort of a mishandle there. So he, you know, he's not going to be happy when he sees that, but sometimes those things just sort of happen. So he's pushed himself out to a pretty substantial lead considering all other scores. And he's sitting around, looks like 377 million after 1.5 balls, but he's already spent 2 or 3 multi-balls on this ball. So for him to continue to extend that lead, he's got a little bit of work to do. It's an interesting video mode. It's pretty decent with the theme integration, and it's just not worth a terrible amount, but I suppose it could make a difference. So 51 million from that. So he's got one more indoor mode to finish, which he just started like right there. So complete the green shots and you'll have multi-ball available. Nice little flick there. Just kind of struggling to get the ball. Nice save. There you go. I would have probably let that one bounce over for a trap. When you feel like you aren't able to really aim, but this style, it works for him. So got a little quick horseshoe drain there. But he's going to end that ball with not much bonus, about 38 million of bonus, which is actually not bad, and he's going to be sitting around 451. So considering the other scores, he's actually not in bad shape at all. We'll see if I'm able to put together anything decent here on the second ball. And I am trying to finish my Death Star mode here. And much in the way that everybody else plays this game, you play one mode that'll bring you to multi-ball. So what I'm trying to do now is complete the 2 or 3 shots that I need to finish the mode, which is the center shot. Just bricked it right there off of the TIE Fighter. Get a chance at it right here. Got it that time. And immediately drained right when the multi-ball was lit. Right off of the sling. That was sort of a microcosm of the day for me. And that's going to be the end of my second ball. So as long as Chris beats Josh, or at least he doesn't come in last place, which is unlikely based on how that went for me. As long as he doesn't come in last place, he'll be your champion. But Tim still has a chance to play spoiler here, because I think if Tim comes in first place and Josh comes in either last place, possibly third place, he can at least take second place away from Josh. But Chris has just been so dominant the whole evening that unless he comes in last place and Josh comes or maybe if I came in first place, I don't know. I don't think there's a way that there is maybe one way that he can lose, and I don't think it's very likely at this point. So Tim's trying to finish his mode here. Got one more shot on the right ramp and maybe one more on the left orbit, and then he'll have his multi-ball available. Nice save there. And out the out lane, yeah. We've seen that drain a couple of times in the last few balls. Seems to be something you want to avoid, is side-to-side motion. That's typical for most games, but that out lane today seems to be getting the best of everyone. That's all right, he'll get that back. So Chris needs to put up a good ball here, but again, all he has to do is not come in last place. Whoa, nice save there. That was really brilliant. I think he wanted a trap there and the ball flipped away on him. So he's trying to finish his indoor mode. May take a backhand shot at the right ramp. Nope, he went for the left ramp. Would have been a nice combo there. Nice little flick save. I think he needs, oh! Might have been going for a multiplier, I'm not sure why I was doing that, but again, he knows the game a lot better than I do, so. Let's see if Josh is able to pull away from the group here. He's sitting in first place at 481. And solidly in second place for the evening, or for the league. So he's got one more indoor mode to finish. Actually, maybe not. There you go. Nice job trapping up. That was a really great decision there. Now he can use one free ball to make jackpots and the others for insurance policy. Got away from him a little bit there, which is pretty common. And actually might have had another Lazarus there if the flipper was pulled down. This game is so fast, and since the stern aprons are plastic, they have a lot of give in them. So you're more likely to get a bounce like that on this type of game than you are, say, maybe a 90s Bally Williams, where the aprons are made out of aluminum. Or steel. This would be steel. So he wants to, says shoot the left ramp. That'll put him into lightsaber battle, which is, I don't know, kind of pointless in my opinion. It's a little bit more valuable in the newest code update, but it locks you into the mode until you finish it. And you apply damage by hitting the red shots, and you get more time by hitting the blue shots. But it's just not, there's nothing really, I mean, it's not going to win you the game, this mode. It's just going to take up your time is what it does, in my opinion. It's not worth locking yourself into this than having to, you know, having the ability to go chase after a multi-ball, because your multi-ball shots don't count for this mode while you're trying to work your way towards them. So Josh is going to be out. He's going to be solidly in the lead at, looks like 6:35 for the game. So not a bad score, certainly, but is passable. And it is passable on one ball. So I've got Death Star missions lit. All I got to do is backhand the Death Star for multi-ball. Nice little trap up there. Excellent job being patient. I didn't fight too hard for that ball because my night was already over. And I'm going to come in 4th place for the league, which isn't bad considering how difficult the field is getting, especially up there in the A division. The line is very blurred between A division players and the B division players now. So I'll take 4th place, and here's Tim. If Tim wins, he may be able to sneak. He might be able to sneak 2nd place away from Josh, but I don't think so because Josh would have had to lose, would have had to come in 4th. So Tim is locked into 3rd place as well. But we'll see if he can show us something we haven't seen before, which would be hard to do coming from him. So he's got to hurry up now that he wants to hit. Where that trapped ball is. Just missed early. Nice shake there. All right, he got it on the backhand on the fly. That was nice. So I think that ball just hopped over the flipper. I don't think he's gonna be trying too terribly hard here on account of he's already locked himself into 3rd place for the season. There's sort of a bad sequence there. Just unlucky for that drain to happen. Missed the shot. I found it a couple times on this particular Star Wars. If I aim for the left orbit and it hits the spinner, it comes right back down. A lot like that. Just like that. And I don't know why that is. The same thing happened for him on the backhand there. He's going to let that one bounce over. Good decision. Yeah, he's having a difficult time finding that left orbit shot to finish off the mode. And that's going to be finishing off his season right there in 3rd place, which is excellent play from Tim all year. And he certainly deserves to be up there with the big dogs. So if Chris passes Josh, although I think he may already be the champion, but if he is able to pass Josh, he is definitely going to win the season. And we'll see what his strategy is. Looks like he's just trying to finish off his mode. Needs 1 shot to the right ramp. We'll backhand it here. Just missed a little late. Nice drop catch there. That shot is sort of deceptive from the left flipper. It's a lot further down because the flippers are more shallow than they are in a lot of games. They're similar to how they're set up on Stern's Star Trek. Also has very shallow flippers. So it makes the shots on the orbits a little bit more difficult, but it also allows you to keep the ball in play usually a little bit longer. There you go. So he's got his multi-ball lit on his indoor shot and on his Death Star shot. So either the left ramp or the Death Star shot will give him a multi-ball. Or he can get TIE Fighter multi-ball like that. And I don't believe you're allowed to stack them, so he'll play this out and then get a chance to play another one immediately after. And here's an interesting factoid about this game. The guy doing the callouts for jackpot is the same guy who, that was interesting, where the balls clacked each other on the horseshoe, is the same guy who did the narration in the Star Wars Clone Wars animated series. So if you're familiar with that show, it's the same guy who does those callouts. So you heard he just got a replay there, which means he's probably already past Josh, if not very close. And he doesn't get the chance to play his second multi-ball, but couldn't quite get Josh, but it doesn't matter because he is your 2018 winner, Magic City Pinball League champion. Congratulations, Chris. You played well all season. You earned it. You deserved it. Once again, thanks to our friends at Bumpernets and our friends at Pindigo. If you haven't gone and checked them out, they're your score tracking app for all your pinball scores. So thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Once again, I'm your host, Alex Huffman, and we'll have some coverage for you from the Iron Maiden launch party here pretty soon. Thanks again.